Hi guys, so in this video, let's talk about staying away from negative people, right? From people that are always very maybe pessimistic and their outlook on life is very negative, right? A lot of the times people will call these individuals like energy vampires, right? So let's talk about it, why it's important for you to stay away from these people as much as you can. And I know it's not possible sometimes because a lot of people will say, well, what if the person, maybe that is very kind of like, negative, this individual is part of my family, right? And we see each other a lot. Or maybe it's even in your friend, like one of your good friends, but their outlook on life is very different than yours, right? And so I know that becomes a little difficult, right? Because even there's a quote, I think, like, we choose our friends, but we don't choose our family, right? But you will need to limit uh, the access to these people, and most importantly, those people's access to you, especially when you are trying to maybe better yourself, right? Maybe you want to improve in certain areas of your life, or maybe you just want to become a better person, right? And have a more positive outlook on life. So when you start, when you hang out with people like this, um, if you're a very positive person, if you're a very half glass full person, right? It's very hard, right? And I'm not talking about being positive when stuff around you, that scenario like where everything is burning around you, and then you're still positive. No, there's certain things in life that are very negative that happen, right? And you have to pay attention to those things and take action, right, on those things. But I'm talking about being positive kind of every day, where you're glass half full type of person, right? Because negative stuff is going to happen to you, but it's how you respond to it, you know, that matters, not how you react and go with your emotions, right? Negative stuff is always going to happen to you. It's part of life, right? By how you react to it, not respond. That's the big difference, right? So I'm not talking about here if everything around you is falling apart and you're still like, oh no, it's fine, it's fine. No, at that point you take action, right? You have to be very logical and take stuff for what it is. But here I'm talking more about where, you know, things are pretty good in your life and you are aware, there's negative stuff in this world and going on, right? And maybe the news talks about it and stuff. So you're aware of those things, but you don't let it control your everyday day's life, right? So you don't let it control your all your emotions every day, and you don't let it dictate what actions you take every day and what topics you speak about, right? And these people will try to drag you down into that low vibration, into that low energy at whatever cost, right? Because their ego, right, will try to get validated, but whatever they're trying to prove. First of all, like, if you're very present and very conscious, right, of the things you do, and you're confident in who you are, you don't have to try to persuade somebody and try to prove things to others, right? Because that's your ego talking, right? And while your ego is part of you and tries to help you in a lot of situations, it's not the real you, right? And I talk about this in some of my other videos. So when these people, latch on to certain conversations and certain topics, their ego will try to drag you into that conversation and try to prove a point that what they're talking about is so important that you need to give your attention to it, and they will try to prove a point to you that what they're saying is just and right and they're validated, right? What is that happening? Me. That's your ego, right? And then if you allow it, right? If you allow to be dragged into it, you also will, by association, your energy will drop, your vibration will lower, right? What a lot of people will call like your frequency, right? There's there's higher emotions in this life, let's say like gratitude and positivity, as opposed to kind of trying to prove something to somebody, right? That's very low energy, low vibration, because it comes from your own insecurities, right? You try to prove something to show how important you are, right? So it becomes very tricky. And a lot of people who tend to have a positive outlook on life, and maybe they know how the ego operates, right? And they say, well, I'm going to try to convince that person that they don't have to be this way, and they can change and they can look. Be very careful, because let's say, I know us do-gooders, right, try to do that and try to motivate others. But let's say you try to do that and then you have an actual conversation with somebody. If that person is in their thinking mind, in their ego mind, right? What a lot of people, even from like Buddhism, call from your monkey mind, right? They will try to prove a certain point, right? And they will say certain things sooner or later that will trigger something in you, right? And then your ego will get a little hurt, and you will try to fight back, right? And prove to them that's not the right. And by the time that conversation or that maybe even argument, whatever you want to call it, ends, you would have gone unconscious, just like that person that was trying to get you to go unconscious, and you maybe said some stuff you didn't need to say or didn't even want to say, right? But because your ego got triggered a little, right? Because we all have egos, even if you're a very conscious person, very present person, right? That ego is still there, and may get triggered, and you just went into you basically fed into what they were trying to do. So you lost all power, you lost all maybe credibility, and it's just such a low vibration to be on that, trust me, you do not want to be in there, okay? So like I said, even if you have the best intentions going into certain conversations or certain topics with certain individuals, sometimes it's better just to leave it alone. It's better to leave it alone, because like I said, the ego works trying to keep you safe and trying to validate whatever your core beliefs are, right? And it may be very difficult to have a conversation like that with somebody who's very unconscious, very in that ego, right? And into proving their perspective because of whatever views they have learned, whatever insecurities, because of whatever negative programming they still have from their childhood and they never worked on it, right? So sometimes it's better to limit that exposure to those people, especially those of you who try to work on yourself, who try to maybe overcome that negative programming, maybe overcome some anxieties and fears that you have, right? Sometimes it's better to stay away from those people, right? And I know we have family members, that we're, maybe we were really close to at one point and still are, and it's family, so you're going to see them quite often, right? But you have to be very conscious who you spend your time with and what conversations you get yourself involved in, because even if you're a high vibrational person, right, high frequency, And those people and those conversations will drop you down, right? Will lower you. And it's not, what I'm saying is not from the ego. It's not that I think, or you should think that you're better than that person or worse than that person, right? Because the ego also can go both ways, right? It's not that I'm better than somebody maybe who's really negative, but I'm choosing to work on myself. I'm trying to do positive things, right? Therefore, it's my responsibility to guard those emotions and those low level energies, right? Because it's sooner or later it's gonna affect me, right? And my philosophy on life, right? If you have stuck around long enough to this video, but I don't think I'm a better anybody, and nobody is better than me, right? We all play different roles in this life, right? And my self-worth doesn't come from one thing, or which a lot of people evaluate, like how much money you make or this and this, right? My self-worth comes from a lot of different things, right? And when I choose to work on myself, I don't want anybody have access to that progress, right? To make me take so many steps forward and go back, so many steps. So and it's funny, a lot of people call these people energy vampires because they just suck the energy out of you and out of their room, and can turn anything positive into negative, and they will go into a whole thing why you should feel the same way, right? And it's like I said, it's from their own ego, and I understand why certain people do those things. But you have the responsibility to work on yourself if you want to change your life, right? So with that comes sometimes a lot of decisions you will have to make, and guard whatever it is that goes on in your life, right? And that means interacting with certain people and certain conversations. So if this kind of stuff resonates, please, subscribe, like, comment, right? Anything that I speak about, I would love to get some engagement so I can see whether it resonates with you, right? Maybe if I'm saying the things and they kind of, hit a spot with you, right? So thanks for watching. Like I said, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.